What's up, everyone? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you, I guess, an early chapter release for the next piece of One Piece, chapter 1067, now entitled Punk Records. Now, cover page, Caesar versus Judge. Gonna even try to use that as the thumbnail because that is a culmination of things we've sort of been waiting for, and the cover series have been getting more and more interesting. Of course, as the series has gone on, sometimes they're like the Orlumbus thing, sometimes they're a little, did we really need it? But then times like this, let's see, who's the better scientist? Who's the more evil of the scientists, right? So, there is that. I'm going to be honest with you, in all honesty. The chapter was good. Not great. It was just good. You know, it was nothing crazy happened for such an early release. I expected something a little bigger reveal. For some reason, it's a big wow factor. Apparently, for some people, I checked on Reddit. A lot of people are like, "Well, pretty cool that robot thing, you know, was part of the Ancient Kingdom." It's like that wasn't obvious. Like that to me was not, once again, new information. We get some information about Vegapunk. He does have a devil fruit. It's the brain fruit, which has nothing to do with his genius. I was kind of worried about that. I was like, Really? The genius who can do everything? And it's going to be like, yeah, it's all based on a devil fruit? I was like, I don't know about that. But the idea is that's why his head grew so large, and that's why he sort of chopped it off. They make fun of that, you know, that he got a haircut and all this stuff. You can't just chop out your brain like it's a haircut and stuff. And he sort of goes into the more of the info dumping about himself and how the brain power works and how he, as a scientist, is trying to go forward and use sort of the brain power, the punk records, which is where he stores all the information, but with the antenna on his head, the little antenna, the six of them, the six Vegapunks plus the real Vegapunk can access this library at all times, sort of idea. Or I think they have to go once a day and download the new information, something like that, like plug in, you know, that kind of idea. But either way, I wonder if they use USB ports. I wonder if it became universal even then. Anyways, fact of the matter is that that's sort of how that works. And his idea is that it'd be nice if everybody could do this. You know what I mean? Like everybody could tap into the same amount of knowledge. Like the brain power gives him infinite space in his brain, though correlated by the size and growth of the brain. As he needs more space, sort of like a hard drive, you have more hard drives. You either increase the size of your current hardware, or you buy external drives, or more hard drives, or etc., etc. So it's sort of working like a computer system, which realistically there are many parallels to how a computer tower or a hard drive works and the brain works. There's a lot to be said for the idea of, you know, each section does its own thing. There's the operating system, the file system, this system, that system. How a hard drive is partitioned and broken down is sort of similar to how the left and right side of the brain work, etc., etc. There's a lot of parallels that can be drawn there. So that being said, though, the thing about this is that Jinbei brings up an excellent point, because Vegapunk's whole idea is, well, I just imagine, what if we could share all the information? And Chopper's right on this, like all the medical information. I mean, there are benefits to this. Vegapunk's not wrong. This is actually extremely beneficial to many people. And Chopper would, an excellent version of this is doctors and medicine. This is an absolutely great idea, because that means that doctors all across the world, if they all had the antenna and all the culminated knowledge of every single doctor and every single medical technique and field and how to make this antidote and all that stuff was all culminated into this research, every doctor in the world could do, well, with the exception of course skill-based stuff, but for the most part all the knowledge would be at hand at a moment's notice. So from a medical perspective, this of course is very helpful. You know, there's a lot of benefits to this idea. Jinbei, however, brings up the idea, and Bonnie of course is against this as well. And we don't really know exactly what happened, but I feel like once again this chapter probably could have started us on that. It does by the end of it, but it's like come on, like let's go. We're finally getting some information we didn't already know, sort of idea from Vegapunk here. So I really want to see what aspect, how they're going to take the Kuma stuff. But this is where Jinbei not only has a beautiful pun saying, you all share the same brain. I find it difficult to wrap my head around that. Jinbei being the dad of the crew. It's fan-fucking-tastic. Anyways, he brings it up that, of course, as a fishman, as Jinbei, would bring it up, if you let everyone share their conflicting ideologies and ideas, wouldn't that all be a basis to lead to trouble? Because if you're sharing all the knowledge, well, what if my idea is sexist or racist or homophobic in nature, and I'm sharing that into a brain that other people's brains, and so you might grab the knowledge, but it's sort of like think about YouTube videos and interviews. It's like, yeah, I like that video. I agree with that YouTube short. Yeah, so-and-so made sense to me. Yeah, fuck this idea or fuck that idea. And then you watch another video where it's the exact opposite, and they're like, yay for this idea. And it's like, no, downvote that or skip that. I don't want to see this on my feed anymore. I don't agree with that. So Jinbei's bringing up an excellent point, how this is a good idea on paper, not practical realistically. And this is where Vegapunk laughs about this and says, science would not progress if we just spent all day worrying about that kind of stuff. And that, unfortunately, is part of why, and Bonnie brings this up, said, you shrug off the sacrifices of others in the name of science, in the name of progress. And this is actually something that has been brought up many times across both in reality, retold biographies and all that stuff, and documentaries, but also across all mediums of fiction. The idea that for the sake of progress, I'm willing to do this, sacrifice a couple of goats, the sacrificial goat idea, the sacrificial lamb, save a couple of that to save the forest, that idea, right? So it makes sense that Vegapunk of all people would be like that. And as I said before, and though Lilith, being the evil one, does command the animals that have been weaponized and mechanicalized and stuff like that, which once again, that's a big no-no for me, never gonna like Vegapunk. But the idea here is that it makes sense that Vegapunk would exactly have that flaw, that classic trait of someone who is all about the progress, who's all about, it doesn't matter how we get there. If we get there, things will be better. Doesn't matter how many bodies I need to step over to get to that point. Perfect example, just last night, I was watching the Venom movie with Tom Hardy. Really liked that movie. I have a couple of small issues with it, but I thought it was a very good movie. I love Venom. But the Drake guy, the main antagonist there, his whole idea when they find alien life is, let's keep going. Animal testing, human testing. Let's make this fucking happen. Let's make this work for the sake of science, for the sake of progress. And he's fucking evil. So there you go. There's a perfect example of that same ideology, same mentality gone wrong. You could argue Caesar Clown. You could argue Judge. It's actually appropriate in this cover page to showcase Judge and Caesar together, the other two scientists showcasing the evil side of that. Judge is only doing this for the sake of power and progress and scientific achievement. Caesar's doing it all because if I don't, who will, sort of idea, the idea that progress can never be stopped. I must continue. Like, just because it's immoral, not forgetting the emotional side of things, it's all about the progress. It's all about the science. The classic Jurassic Park movies, another example. As Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, said, your scientists were so preoccupied wondering or not if they could do something, they didn't stop to think if they should. Right? So I firmly and 100% agree with that statement. If none of my other analogies, I used enough for one review anyways, enough analogies of tangents of analogies. But if nothing else, that line alone sums up Vegapunk 100% by the looks of him. By, so far, his attitude, by everything we know, he is absolutely the problem. He's an actual problem. For every good he does, somebody suffers. And in Bonnie's case, of course, Kuma, her father. And granted, I'm sure that Kuma, there is more to the story, but that is not going to excuse what Vegapunk has done or is willing to do by the looks of it. So, and once again, weaponizing animals. Leave them the fuck alone. Right out of the gate. No matter what Kuma says, So for me, personally, I thought that this chapter gave us a lot of insight if you look deep enough and think hard enough like I just have for the last 15 minutes, if you look deep enough into Vegapunk, these lines, while seeming like, oh, they're just there for the hearty, it's all about Bonnie's character. No. This is giving us great insight to Vegapunk, something that has been done so many times in so many works, and it's usually never a good thing. It's usually always they go too far, or they should have stopped, or it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's always that's the answer. And because that is the right answer, you know? Maybe your guys' ideology is different. Maybe it is. I don't know. But at the end of the day, yeah, this is definitely not what I'm about. Of course, Bonnie gets scared, I guess, you know, classic Misty syndromes, terrified of bug Pokemon. We're going with Bonnie is terrified of insects, beetles, and stuff like that. And so, though she wants to attack Vegapunk, she ends up completely comatose as a result of trying to kill Vegapunk, and they're all attracted to the Beam Saber and all that stuff. So then we do get the idea that Vegapunk is aware why Bonnie wants him dead, and says that it's one of the failures. It's one of his many failures had saved me this time, being the Beam Saber, and then mention that he is too much of a perfectionist. They even mention this, is that the dragon fruit is only considered a failure because it's pink. The tea's still warm. That's nice. You know, usually I don't like recording videos with tea because it gets cold too quickly. But yeah, so we've all assumed that Vegapunk didn't think it worked, or it wouldn't work as well as Kaido's, or wouldn't be able to breathe the fire, and maybe it's not Momonosuke's the problem. It's the actual fruit itself is defective in some way. It's defective because it's a pink dragon. Luffy brings this all up, and quite literally, even Jinbei mentions, like, I get it, he's a genius and a complete perfectionist, so because it couldn't completely copy Kaido down to the fucking color of his scales, it's a defective fruit. You know, that's... honestly, it's Oda. And now that we know how Vegapunk is, it makes sense. I still think it's a bit of a slap in the face. And hopefully I didn't slap off my Movember mustache. No, it's actually real, guys. Ow. I don't put on fake mustaches. But... the fact of the matter is that is a bit of a slap in the face since we've known about this defective fruit. I forget when we first learned that it was defective. I don't think we learned that it was defective in Punk Hazard. I don't believe. I forget when we exactly learned, but I believe it was before Wano. And the idea that the whole time that people have making theories for years, even if it was revealed in Wano went for a while. Really? This isn't a great, like, hey, guess what, Vegapunk? The dragon fruit actually worked. What? It shouldn't have. And, like, right here was a perfect opportunity for us to go into the devil fruit logic, the devil fruit lore, all the information that Vegapunk supposedly has in these punk records, all about devil fruits. And, like, that's a perfect segue into that. Like, hey, you thought it was defective, but it actually worked. Wait, what? It worked? It shouldn't have. I got the lineage factor wrong and all this stuff. And then he explains lineage factors to us and devil fruit lore. Instead, no, he just mad because it turned out pink. They wanted a boy and they got a girl. I mean, Jesus Christ. Repaint the fucking nursery, people. Jesus, it's not hard. Ah, Christ. So anyways, so yeah, I think that's a bit of the slap in the face for me. I'm not happy with that being it all being a gag this entire time. But... that is Oda. Got to give it to him, but I don't like it just because it fits with Oda's style. Doesn't mean I have to like it every time he does it. So then they explain, of course, the robot stuff, as I already said. I don't get why this is a big shocker. The only new piece of information is that 200 years ago, not back in the Void Century, but actually 200 years ago, this thing actually managed to climb up to Marijoa and actually was going to attack the Celestial Dragons in Marijoa. Now, it ended up not working. By the time it got up there, apparently it malfunctioned and stopped working. But the scientists were so amazed at this piece of technology that they saved it. When Vegapunk was born, I guess he recovered it and he tried to replicate it. That's what his Vegapunk 01 giant, Megazord is based off of and all that stuff. So, so that is some new information. It's interesting that 200 years ago, Meiji was under attack. Clearly, most people, not even Dr. Kureha was alive back then. So I doubt any of the current people alive, nobody, even Dr. Kureha was not alive back then. So no one would have memory of this. Of course, not even the Celestial Dragons that are currently alive. But that's actually interesting information to know that I'm sure that only Vegapunk or only Saul knows about. It's probably written somewhere. So quite interesting in that regard. Apparently they know that Luffy's on the island. They know that Vegapunk, there's a TV screen. They are all aware. So the Straw Hats are aware that Luffy and Chopper and everybody is safe. They see Jewelry Bonnie there and everything like that. Apparently Vegapunk has something to give Bonnie and Vegapunk asks Luffy, as, it's good that you're here. Can you please take me away from Egghead? Now, is this because, of course, that he wants to stop, he wants to go into hiding, that he wants to stop making weapons after making the Seraphim, he wants to stop making them for the world government? What's the deal here? Why is he running? Does he know about CP0 coming? Is he worried for his own skin? Is he worried for the punk records? Is he worried that if the world government gets certain information out of his brain, it's going to be detrimental? What does he know, right? So this is at least segueing into, once again, just like all the chapters have been seemingly doing and never delivering the next week, but hopefully this is actually segueing into some more lore information. I'd be very happy about that. The end part of the chapter, of course, Cypher Pole has arrived, and we see more than just Lucci and stuff there. There's actually a multitude of, and Kaku, there's a multitude of members, seemingly, of CP0 all there. So this should be interesting. But, of course, Lucci being the strongest, CP0 is a joke. They have no chance. They have no chance against, honestly, there are a lot of people on that island that could probably take them all out. Like, I don't care how strong Lucci has gotten. Lucci cannot tango with Gear 5th Luffy, Conqueror's Haki Zoro. Hell, I'll give it to Sanji. Sanji even mentions, like, oh, Lucci's back? Well, I'll protect Nami and Robin. And it's like, that actually sounds like a pretty good fight. Let's assume that Lucci has gotten exponentially stronger since the time skip. That's probably a good opponent for Sanji at this point. Rob Lucci, clearly not really going to be much of a contest in my opinion, or it's going to be a power scaling nightmare to suggest that Lucci got as strong as Zoro or Luffy to be able to tango with them at this point. You know what I mean? That's a little bit of a too much of a power creep there for me. So I've heard a lot of people suggesting that he'll fight against Jinbei, he'll catch them unawares, he'll use dirty tricks, he'll fight against Sanji. I've heard Sanji and Jinbei marked the most, so that should be interesting. I am looking forward to Lucci fighting somebody. I just don't think it's going to be Luffy or Zoro, because I think no matter how strong Lucci might have gotten, I think those two are clearly out of his league. I think they're nobody in CP0 can tango with those two. I just don't think that's the case. And the strongest of CP0 are probably I still think Sanji and Jinbei would beat Rob Lucci. So, I don't know. Anyways, so they're going there. They apparently, Shaka, the first Vegapunk robot thingy, denies, the android, denies their entry and says, leave the Seraphim and get the hell out of here. Of course, they're not going to listen. So it's like, all right, we're going to have to fight. So you guys are ready for battle? It's like, all right, cool. Then we jump over to the Kawabaka Kingdom. Apparently, Kuma is starting to move and trying to move. And they're wondering if he's being controlled by the Navy and stuff. Dragon even states there and says, like, talk to us, Kuma. Why do you want to go so badly? Stay with us. We're not done fighting. The Revolutionary Army is just getting started. We see Ivankov. We see Dragon. We see the other heads of the Revolutionary Army. The Kuma has finally activated and is trying to get back to where, for what purpose, why. We still don't know the programming other than the protecting the Thousand Sunny from the 2-year time skip. We don't know what the programming of Kuma currently is. And what is there anything, can Kuma potentially come back? Is there a failsafe somewhere? We don't know. That's where the chapter ends. There is a break next week, unfortunately, so we're not going to get any more information from for next week. But as I said, I thought the chapter was good, not great. There was some new information, so I do like that. Not that we necessarily like all the information. Once again, I think it's a bit of a slap in the face to everyone making theories like, how is the devil fruit defective? What's going to happen when Vegapunk figures that out? What's the segue going to be? How does he make this? About lineage factors, blah, 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 blah. And we get none of that. I'm sure we're going to get it, but that was the opportunity to start it. That was a good segue into it. And to just be told he's upset because it was pink. That's not a defective devil fruit. It is to a perfectionist, but as I said, they were expecting a boy with the blue, and they painted the room prematurely, and then out pops a girl. Are they unhappy that it's a girl? Because they gotta paint a room? I mean, really? Just saying. I don't know. I was going to make a really bad joke that was done on Family Guy, but I'm not going to make that joke about being disappointed with a girl. But I think you guys already know that one. But anyways, yeah. So that's the review. So as I said, good chapter, not great. And I disliked, of course, one or two things. But other than that, I am looking forward to see Rob Lucci and who he's going to be matched up with. Or is it going to be an unfair fight? It seems like he's got a whole armada or not an armada, but he's got an entire crew ready to go. And I'm sure they're all relatively strong. Just compared to the Straw Hats, I feel like Zoro will be like, yeah, no, boom, there goes half your fucking ship, right? So that's just my idea. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. Like, comment, and subscribe. There's no Jujutsu Kaisen this week either, so Friday I'm hoping to get some stuff done here tonight and tomorrow morning, and hopefully Friday we'll be doing a stream with artists. So look forward to that. I don't know what's planned for the weekend, but I got a lot of stuff to take care of anyways. So we'll have to wait and see. Like, comment, and subscribe. Drink responsibly, as your very broke, very poor Griever is currently doing because he can't afford alcohol. And tea's pretty expensive too. But just not as much as alcohol. So, anyways, we'll see you back here next time. Have a good Movember for the remainder of it, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye bye.